Good morning, everyone. I'm Amy Snow Buckner, Acting Managing Director of Communications here at the City of Grand Rapids. We have a number of folks here today who want to provide an update on the weather and our response to that. And so I just ask that you hold your questions until the end. Thanks. Mark?
Thank you. Good morning, everyone. Mark Washington, City Manager, and joining me today is Interim Chief Kittle and Chief Lehman from our Police Department, Fire Department respectively. We also have representation from Grand Rapids Public School with John Hemholt, and we're thankful to also have consumer energy representation from Garrett Rochow. So thank you for being here. I'm going to ask if they would come a little closer. This is to symbolize our unity together in the response. We've been monitoring these conditions, obviously, over the previous week since this unprecedented winter vortex has occurred. But more recently, we've been paying careful attention due to the recent power outages. And it's become concerning to us because we've had almost a quarter of our community that's been affected by the outages. And based on that, we made a decision to activate our Emergency Operations Center as our central command and control for all of the emergency response, make sure that we are carrying out the preparedness efforts and the emergency management functions appropriately. We have partnered, certainly internally, with all of our city departments to include our public safety departments, police and fire, as well as our street department and community services, parks department, and many other internal agencies to ensure the safety of our community. Our highest priority has been and remains to be the health and welfare and safety of our community. To that end, we've also partnered with agencies outside of the city who's been assisting us in both monitoring and responding to these events, to include the Grand Rapids Public School District, also Kent County, the Road Commission, Red Cross, the Rapid, the state, both at MDOT as well as the State Police Office, the Office of Emergency Management, and of course with Consumers Energy, to make sure that we make the best decisions as a community that continues to protect life and property in our community. We're going to begin. I'm going to ask for an update from our public safety leaders to give us a situational update on the safety of our community, and we'll begin with Chief Lehman, followed by Chief Kittle.
Thank you, sir. So over the last couple of days of this significant icing event, we've experienced almost since Wednesday a half-inch of ice buildup on trees and power lines. This has resulted in an extreme amount of weight to those structures and also resulted in over 284 trees and limbs coming down and also 409 wires coming down within our city. Impacting us to the tune of approximately, at the peak, about 56,000 customers without service rate, and right now we're down in the 40,000 range. So what I can say is that it's impacted city services to the extent of really putting a tax on our infrastructure and our resources. Speaking from the fire perspective, we have run just in the last 24 hours over 370 calls for service. Over 170 or over 270 of those, were for wires down. So I think we're pretty much out of the damage occurring right now, and right now we're kind of assessing where our infrastructure's been impacted. So I can tell you right now we still have 4 fire stations that are without power. That's out of 11. We have 17 pump stations for the water facilities that are acting on generators right now, and we have 4 lift stations for our wastewater treatment that are acting on generators. We've been working very closely in our Emergency Operations Center, which has been open since 11 o'clock yesterday, to coordinate efforts citywide. We have been working very closely with Consumers Energy to be able to look at restoration efforts and to be able to prioritize those efforts on a citywide basis. And I can tell you that we have been reaching out to our critical facilities within the city, those being the elderly and infirm population, to make sure that those facilities that are without power are being checked on. We have experienced some of those facilities that have been without power for over 24 and approaching 48 hours now. As we have encountered them, and crews are checking on those, we are also working closely to estimate restoration times. Based on that information, we have evacuated a couple facilities, and I can tell you right now we're in the process of evacuating Villa Maria. And when I say that, what we are doing is we're assisting with transportation from those facilities to our shelters that we have in place. And we have 2 shelters in conjunction with Grand Rapids Public Schools and the Red Cross that are now open. That would be Union High School and Ottawa Hills High School. So we are planning and focusing on those folks within our community that need that assistance. I can tell you that we had limited activity at those shelters as of this report. We have probably about 70 in transit to Union High School, but prior to that, our numbers were fairly low. So we were down in the 10 and I believe 7 range at these facilities overnight last night. So that was fairly insignificant. But as we get the update from consumers, I think what we're realizing is that we are still going to be in this for another couple days. And that being said, with temperatures dropping, it's very critical that these people realize that this isn't going to be a quick event and that we need to get them into shelter where they can be cared for appropriately and have the warmth that they need. So right now, that is our largest concern. I will tell you also that we have some safety concerns as well. As we look at these facilities without power, we need to concentrate on the fact that we're going to be seeing people using alternative heating methods to try and stay warm. I can tell you that we've had a couple of significant fire incidents as a result of that already. One last night and one this morning that we are not able to attribute yet to that, but I would say that that is definitely something that we want to make sure that the public is being safe about. Carbon monoxide generation, consumers has been very good about putting out information, and we have been trying to push that out as well, to be very safe with your generators if you're using them, and making sure that we are mindful of those alternative heating methods. I will remind you also that in these larger facilities, one of my concerns is that our fire protection systems are no longer in place or they are compromised as a result of the lack of power. And so we really want to concentrate on those larger facilities and making sure that we're providing the safe protection for those citizens out there. I will close with just the fact that in conjunction with this ice event, we also have a significant look at the river and concern for breakup on the Grand River. Just recently, right before we came in here, there was an update given that reported us in a flood stage right now. I will tell you that that was done for Kent County. The city of Grand Rapids, we've been monitoring our river conditions very closely over the last week. We are confident right now that we have adequate protection in place and that unless we have a large ice jamming event that occurs, we are also watching for that. But should we have something that occurs like that, we have adequate measures in place to take care of that. So I just wanted to mention that before I close. And I will be available for any questions if anybody has some. But I would like to add Chief Kittle to this update and allow him to provide information.
Good morning. From the police side of things, we are doing all we can to assist with the weather-related incidents. We have officers out checking on people's welfare, handling traffic-related issues, assisting with downed wires and trees, and then responding to all other calls for service as we normally do. We have placed some of our administrative and investigative personnel into the field to assist with patrol operations, and we will continue to do so as necessary. Additionally, we have called in personnel for both dispatch and patrol operations throughout the last couple days. As traffic lights are out at many intersections across the city, I would like to remind everybody that at an intersection where a traffic light is out, by law, people are required to treat it as a four-way stop. That is very important. Drivers must remain alert as they approach intersections. As you know, not everybody, when an intersection light is out, not everybody realizes that it's an actual lighted or traffic lighted intersection. So it's very important that we watch out for those things. Also important to be alert for downed trees that could be partially or completely blocking blocking roadways. That's especially important at evenings. I was driving in this morning, very early morning hours, and almost missed one that was partially blocking a side road. Urge all drivers to basically slow down, plan on taking extra time for your trip, and be patient so that everyone can get to where they're going very safely. Also like to remind residents to follow the odd even parking rules. We've been putting that out a lot lately. Where they exist, we will continue to enforce those rules throughout the end of the season, and we will tow as necessary for public safety purposes. In closing, just as always, tell people to call 911 in an emergency. We are able to respond at this time. Thank you.
Thank you, Chief. Now, we're going to ask our partners, both from the school district and consumers, to come and give an update.
Thank you, Mark. Good morning, everyone. On behalf of Superintendent Teresa Weatherall-Neal and our Chief of Staff and Head of Public Safety, Larry Johnson, I just want to start by first giving our thanks and commendation to City Manager Washington, the Chiefs, Consumers Energy, Sheriff's Department, Kent County, the Rapid. We've been in close coordination over the last 2 weeks. Grand Rapids Public Schools has been closed for an unprecedented amount of time. Of the last 2 weeks, we've only been in school for 2 days, so that's 8 days where we've been closed. Today marks our official 10th day. So when it comes specifically to what does that mean for Grand Rapids Public Schools and potential makeup days, the state law allows for us 6 snow days. We have 3 days that we can appeal to the state superintendent for a waiver. So that's 9. We're already 1 over. There's a concerted effort amongst all the school districts in the ISD to appeal to the state legislature to look for legislative relief. In the event that we do not get that relief, we will then have to explore how we make up those days or the day or the days that may come still, because we still got a lot of winter left. We have proudly partnered to really help get the communications out, including not only school closures, but also how our families can access much needed support services. We were fortunate to be able to partner with the city and Red Cross to open up the 2 shelters at Union and Ottawa. We've been utilizing our robocall system, text message, email, social media, every means we can to piggyback on the messaging coming from our friends at the city, Consumers Energy, Red Cross, and others. And we just continue to stand ready to work side by side with our partners as we work to get through this. We've also, Kids Food Basket and YMCA have been providing different locations throughout the city where families can access food and nutrition services. I know at the shelters, there's also those food nutrition services. And so we're going to continue to stand work ready, and hopefully Mother Nature will give us a break here for a little bit so that things can get back to normal, because we got to get kids back in school, get back to teaching and learning. So, and I'll turn it over to Garrick.
Good morning. I'm Garrick Rochow, Senior Vice President of Operations for Consumers Energy, and I'm pleased to be able to be up here with officials from the City of Grand Rapids Public Schools, and also work really across counties and emergency response organizations, the Red Cross, Kent County, Montcalm, and Ionia counties. I first want to start with a thank you. Thank you, and I want to express appreciation for every one of our customers and their patience. We certainly recognize the loss of energy, the loss of power has a significant impact on your life, and we are working just as quickly and safely as possible to restore power. Much like the chief, I'd like to also talk about safety. It's an important piece, both with our personnel out on the roads restoring power, but also with the public. I want to remind the public of important factors here. Down wires are hazardous. Please stay 25 feet away and call Consumers Energy, 1-800-477-5050. Also, a number of individuals will use generators at their home. Please do not use the generator in your home, in a breezeway, or in the garage. Generators are for outside, and you can outside use only, and can avoid really carbon monoxide poisoning. The third piece, and again, as the chief indicated, temperatures have dropped, and I encourage everyone to check on their neighbors, check on their friends, check on elderly or those that might be homebound, and so that we can get the appropriate help. And that can be done through 211 and other assistance organizations. As we work to restore energy, I I want to remind you that we have a number of crews, and I'll go through those numbers in a moment. There are a lot of crews in the greater Grand Rapids area. They're going to be parked alongside the roads. Please take your time. Go around them slowly. They're working in the harshest of conditions to be able to restore power just as quickly and safely as possible. Let me talk a little bit about the event. Much like the city and much like other organizations, there's a great deal of preparation that goes into even before the event when we start to know about the weather. And certainly the extreme weather conditions over the last 2 weeks, there's been a number of preparation efforts that have started back in December, January, and leading up to Wednesday when we had the ice storm. We brought in a number of resources in front of that first wave to be able to respond, both company crews, contractor crews, as well as what we call mutual assistance crews, or crews from out of state to come into Michigan. With that extreme fronts, first the first ice, the second ice, and the wind that was experienced over the evening hours and into this morning, we have continued to increase our resources, again, to be able to quickly respond to the number of down wires and the customers who are out of power. So that will continue, and we are really leveraging all efforts, and roughly 1,500 people across the company, outside the company, to be able to, again, restore power just as quickly as possible. I want to provide some numbers for you today. We've had over 230,000 customers that have been impacted by the storm events, these 3 waves of extreme weather. Most of those are in the greater Grand Rapids area and extend into Kent County, Muskegon County, Montcalm, as well as Ionia. Those are the hardest hit areas. Of that, there's about 153,000 customers remaining. So we've restored about 75,000 customers over that time. There are an extreme number of down wires that are out there on the system. As high as 3,300 at one point. We've eliminated or addressed a number of those, and we continue to address those over the time period, again, to ensure the public and personnel are safe. I also want to talk from a crewing perspective. We started out with, again, like 1,500 employees that are in this area restoring power. We started out with 179 really over Wednesday, made good progress. With the other fronts, we've continued to bring in resources. Right now, we're at 248 crews, another 179 are arriving here today, and then we are actively and have just secured some additional resources that will come in late today, early tomorrow. Again, pulling out all efforts to be able to restore power just as quickly as possible. I want to talk a little bit about our estimated restoration time. Just given the nature of this, and you can see the conditions outside today, with the blowing, with the snow, with the slippery roads. Our crews are out there, they're working to restore power and keep things safe. At this point, we see a majority of our customers being restored by Sunday, by the end of the day on Sunday. However, a number of our customers in some of the hardest hit areas will extend into Monday, and that will be Monday end of day. I do want to talk about estimated time of restoration, or the time that our customers will be restored. We've had to shift that, and again, I appreciate the patience of our customers. I also recognize there's been some frustration. Part of that shift in our restoration time is a result of just the nature of 3 really storm events that have impacted this area. And again, we're working right now to assess conditions out there, restore, and we'll refine our estimated time of restoration as we move forward. With all that said, again, I want to thank our customers for their patience. I also want to recognize, again, the partners we have up here that are working to work together to make things as safe as possible. That is priority 1. And again, I want to emphasize that we are bringing all resources to bear to be able to restore customers here in a safe and timely manner. Thank you.
Thank you all. So if there are any questions, we can, yeah.
Yes, my question is for Mr. Rochow. If you could explain or pinpoint which areas have been moved to that Monday restoration estimation.
Our estimates today look like, as I indicated, the hardest hit areas. There's about 64,000 customers that we'll pick up today that we're actively working right now. A bulk of those will be within Kent County, Ionia County, and up into Montcalm County. Typically, it would be in a little more rural areas where it would extend into Monday. I do want to emphasize that in the kind of interest of safety, our focus right now is on critical customers. You heard from the chief here with the senior centers, nursing homes, critical facilities, wastewater and the like. Those are getting our priority, as well as fire and police. And so those efforts, as well as this 64,000 customers that we're going after right at this moment.
And how do you balance with that safety aspect? Obviously, having someone up in a bucket truck with the winds we were seeing overnight would not have been ideal. So at what point do you also determine to keep your crews on the ground and wait out these winds, especially the ice we saw as well building up?
Yeah, I appreciate your question because, it is a balance. It's a balance of ensuring our personnel are safe, and it's a balance of ensuring the public is safe, and that's the right balance we have to strike. And so when wind conditions get high, as they did last night, it does require us to adjust our restoration plans, keep people out of the air. And frankly, that's why just the conditions overnight were slower in response than we'd like. But again, it's with safety in mind of our employees.
And at some point, will that help with the outage map and trying to pinpoint those times? Because a lot of people are just seeing that, the Sunday or the Monday. Will we see out by hour at some point, you think?
Yes, what you'll see today is as our crews are out assessing, they'll be putting estimated times of restoration on the circuits. We are also looking at taking that large kind of end-of-day Monday and refining it specifically for certain headquarters or service center areas. And so for this local region as well as other regions throughout the state.
Those rural customers that might not come online until Monday afternoon, are those pinpointed at any certain point in the county, north, south, east, west? Are they clustered anywhere, or is it just throughout the whole rural area of Kent County?
Right now, that's too soon to tell. Our efforts, again, as we bring more resources in, we're going to look to improve on that. And so we'll be able to refine that as we go forward.
Do you foresee those restoration times to be extended if the weather does continue to get worse?
Certainly, the weather conditions have been challenging, and that's what's caused us to, again, adjust some of our estimated times of restoration. They continue to be challenging today. We've got a good plan going into today, and the weather tomorrow is supposed to be beneficial. And so we're holding right now to Monday. If weather conditions, again, turn for the worse, we'll have to make adjustments.
I'm a little new here. Is this one of the worst extended outages we've seen in a while?
Great question here. I've been in the utility business for 20 years. I've been at Consumers Energy for 15 years. There have been a number of weather fronts that we've worked through. We've got a good plan for this one. The congestion, you might say, within the greater Grand Rapids area is a bit unique to storms that I've seen in our past, but certainly we've had experience in these types of numbers of customers and these number of wire downs, and we're working our plan and feel confident in our plan for the restoration time that we've provided, given the current weather conditions.
So the messaging for the shelter that the city has set up has went out through social media. It sounds like your guest has piggyback on that, let people know. Are you folks taking any other ways to let people in the community know about those shelters and their availability?
Yeah, so really, it's the Red Cross that has opened those shelters in partnership with the city and Grand Rapids Public Schools. And so we're leveraging all of our platforms, all of our communications channels to get the word out. We imagine that as the temperatures drop today, that more folks will take advantage of those shelters.
Amy, can we add that and on that sheltering note, I just wanted to add, in these situations, pets become a very emotional part of this puzzle, right? And so we were just able to work with Grand Rapids Public Schools and the Red Cross, and the Union High School as well as the Ottawa Hills High School are now going to be a pet-friendly shelter in the evening. And then during the daytime, those pets will be cared for at Kent County. So we just wanted to make sure that was something that we just got out, and I didn't include that in my brief, but I think that's a very important piece, because that is literally keeping people in their homes versus going to the shelters. And I think that that will be critical for us to get them moved out. Thank you.
Is there a message to those folks who are looking to get to a shelter in terms of
calling ahead or just going down to one of those schools or?
Yeah, just come on down. The Rapid has partnered with us to help us get some of those folks to the shelters, and I anticipate that continuing. But yeah, you don't need to call or anything, just come on down to the shelter. No more questions? All right, thank you so much for being here.
I do want to briefly recognize the emergency manager from Ottawa County was here, left, okay. And we had a representative from Heisinger's office as well. Thank you.